to the Source Material Comics Podcast. That is right. We have returned here. It's me, Jesse Starcher, and the one and only Mark Radulich. Man, we are getting ready to talk some Batman comics this go round. We got a triple threat coming in of not just Batman, though. Batman makes an appearance, but we're going to focus. Yeah, we're going to focus. We're going to focus on the police of Gotham, which they've got their work cut out for them. That's for damn sure. So we've got three stories. Mark Radulich is sitting right over there, ready to talk about Gordon of Gotham. So the first question that always gets asked, okay, why'd you pick the book? What's up with this book?
All right, so it's the year of our Lord 2024.
It is.
And you and I, we started this sort of trend of what is on Mark's bookshelf. What did Mark buy at the bookstore with his children? We were throwing together sort of odd collections of things. This is Marvel, this is DC, this is that. Or there would be a theme, crossovers, music, whatever. And I thought, okay, I kind of like the idea of just kind of working through my bookshelf with you. But you and I talked about the amount of reading we can get done for a single episode, the volume, like how big a book is going to be, and how many of those we can do in a single recording session. I have, between my Ollie's the stuff I bought from Ollie's and then the stuff I've just bought from bookstores, I have a lot of trade paperbacks that collects not just one series, but several series.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe this year, let's try to burn through some of those. So one of the ones that we're starting off with, and I think it's an interesting one, is Gordon of Gotham. It's a trade paperback that collects 3 different 4-issue series. There's Batman. First of all, throwing Batman in the title is quite the misnomer.
Right.
These have as much to do with Batman as I do.
Yeah.
They might as well have called these Superman, Gordon of Gotham, Wonder Woman, Gordon of Gotham. This is some of that publishing stuff that we complain about. But, nonetheless, we have Batman, Gordon of Gotham, issues 1 through 4. Batman, GCPD, issues 1 through 4. And then Batman, Gordon's Law. Sounds like a movie title. Gordon's Law.
Yeah.
Like he's the Punisher or something. Issues 1 through 4. So this is the first of 3 podcasts we'll be doing covering each one of those. And why, like I said, it was on my shelf. Jesse, we have a lot of things in common, you and I.
Yes.
And we like the detective noir stories.
Oh, yes.
One of the things that you and your doting, dutiful, loyal, not Polly wife who likes the attention. She does.
She's Princess Mindy. She's
Princess
number 1.
Mindy. That's right. She's your muse. You write the songs about her.
Oh, yes.
Is the Law and Order shows, and not just the Law and Order, the name of the show, but I mean, literally cop shows. You like cop procedurals. That's why we had so much fun covering The Wire when we did that. Yeah. So these are kind of police procedural, detective noir, street level starch type books. Right. So I thought it would be a perfect one to kick off the year of our Lord 2024.
Yeah, and you and I have covered a Gotham Central book there a while back. Didn't Andrew Graham?
We did like the first. I think we did 2 source materials on it. We did like the first 10 issues.
Yeah, and I was really impressed with what I read there.
Mm-hmm.
Hearing that GCPD is involved in these 3 that we're going to be these 3 stories that we're going to be reading, I was like, okay, well, let's see what this. But the other thing is, it's really interesting, is all 3 of these stories take place in mid to late 90s. So this idea of Batman's acquaintance, James Gordon, is we want to see the stories that he runs into, that we want to see kind of the trials and tribulations of the police department.
Well, can we talk about that? Because I was thinking about this as I read the book. I thought this was an interesting thing because on the one hand, I have a complaint. On the other hand, I really like it. It's one of those where I'm complaining, but I still like it. And that is something I talked about with Alexis with the Echo show. I wouldn't necessarily have normally watched a show about Native Americans, and I got tricked into watching it because it's a Marvel show that's supposed to be a lead into the new Daredevil show. And so it's I wouldn't have watched this normally, but you dressed it up in all the Marvel wrapping paper and Daredevil and stuff. I look at these comic books, and don't get me wrong, I've read, what's his nuts? The one that we did the week-long stuff for. He wrote the Reffin show that we reviewed, Too Old to Die Young. We like ourselves a nice detective noir. And you and I will sit down and pick up a comic book that is just a detective noir, right? And so I wonder, I made fun of the fact that these are called Batman, when this has nothing to do with Batman at all. He makes an appearance maybe in a panel. I think the last one, Gordon's Law, he's talking to Gordon. Gordon's talking to Batman, kind of telling him this story. This was a narrative device that had really nothing to do with Batman.
Right.
Gordon could have just been talking to the wall or Jiminy Cricket. But I feel like there's a publishing decision that gets made with these where it's our average DC comic reader isn't gonna buy books for characters that aren't one of the main superheroes, which made me wonder why they did this in the first place. Somebody's like, well, we need books on shelves. Let's mine every character and let's get some great writers in there and create some awesome stories. And I'm all for that. But then there's like, okay, but who's going to buy this stuff? We have to publish more books. We have to get more books on shelves. We want to mine these characters for good stories. And then we have to figure out a way to sell them to people. I know, trick them into thinking Batman's in these books when he's really not.
Put the name up there.
Yeah, and it's frustrating. I mean, I don't know how you feel about that, but it frustrated the hell out of me as I was reading this. Let's say, didn't we talk about this with Swamp Thing too? Where it's just like Swamp Thing featuring Firestorm, like Firestorm's in it for like a page.
Right. If you're a well-read comic book enthusiast, you're going to probably read up on what the solicit is going to be for the book. Right. Now, back in the 90s, I don't know, but because your solicits were usually in a previews mag, the previews mag would kind of tell you, okay, this is what's coming out. This is what it's about. So you have an idea of what it's about before you put it on the pull list. But yeah, if it's on the shelf and it says Batman up top, the unwary reader is going to be like, oh yeah, let's grab that. It's got Batman in it. Brubaker, by the way. That's
that was Ed Brubaker. That's right.
All right.
Betty Crocker. Right. And Orville Redenbacher. But it makes me feel like, well, these stories aren't good enough to stand on their own. And that's the sad tragedy of this whole thing, is that these were really good, solid stories.
Yeah, right.
But I'm also wondering if they've ever looked at an Ed Brubaker, Ed Orville Redenbacher book and been like, oh, these don't sell worth a dick. He writes some awesome detective noir and nobody buys them.
All right. Well,
so we're committed to publishing these, but we got to trick people into buying them. And it's like, that kind of sucks.
Yeah. This first story we're going to get into is written by Denny O'Neil, which is a very, very well-known writer for DC Comics and Batman. And also the next couple are going to be written by Chuck Dixon, who is also very well-known in Batman circles and Punisher circles, as a matter of fact. So if you were going into this and you look at the cover and you see those names, when I was a kid, I wasn't looking at that. I mean, I could tell by the art style.
I wouldn't have known Chuck Dixon from the Mason-Dixon line.
Right. You're not going to know that. But as somebody who's well read would be like, oh, okay, I enjoy Chuck Dixon's stuff because he's wrote blah, blah, blah.
Here's my other question to you. Was anyone clamoring for a James Gordon book?
I know when I was picking up comics in 96?
Right.
I think
I'm in college by this point, by the way.
I'm still collecting, or I should say I'm still buying. I've got a pool list that has X books. And at no point am I sitting there going, boy, I really want to learn about James Gordon. Now, that's because I'm...
Can we just talk about the show for a second? The Gotham show? We've never reviewed on the Rattle Engine Broadcasting Network because it's trash. But that was one where again, we don't want to put Batman, we don't want to give Batman away for free. So we can't put Batman on network television, but we want to mine the property for as much as we can. So let's give James Gordon a show. And then after one season of that, they realized they had to bring in everybody, literally everybody but Batman.
Yep.
That show got ridiculous in a hurry.
Yeah.
And when it ended, mercifully, I was like, this show is just terrible.
I'd never sat down and watched it. What's worse, that or Pennyworth? So I mean, that's another Batman property that got mine the hell out of it. And Pennyworth went 3 seasons?
Yeah, so far. Yeah, we covered at least 2 of them.
Jim Gordon couldn't get the job done. Let's go to the butler.
Is there a maid? Bruce Wayne's private driver. Let's give him a show. It's so funny. Vicky Vale. Let's give Vicky Vale a show. Hard-hitting news show. It's like the season 5 of The Wire, just the newsroom stuff. That's the Vicky Vale show.
There you go.
And that's the thing. And I go back to the same thing. I think here's the point that I'm trying to make, and I'll hand you back your show. I promise.
Okay.
I think Batman captured the hearts and minds of a lot of young men and boys. And it's like they'll read, they want to know what the further adventures of Batman. They want to know what's going on in Batman's world. I think the pool of people that are interested in Batman's sub-characters that aren't superheroes, the people that populate the Batman comic books Jim Gordon, Renee Montoya, Harvey Bullock, Alfred, whatever. I think we appreciate them, and I'm making a generalization. I think we appreciate them as support characters, but I'm not entirely sure the vast majority of Batman fans give a shit about these people without the presence of Batman. So on the one hand, as a fan of the gritty, hard-boiled detective noir, I'm all for writing these comics. As somebody who understands the marketplace, I'm not entirely sure who the audience for these things were, which is probably why the trade ended up at Ollie's. All right, Jesse, we can now officially start your show.
Batman, Gordon's Law, which came out in October of 1996, 4 issues there. This was written by Chuck Dixon, art by Klaus Janson, which you might recognize Klaus Janson, that name from, I think he was the Dark Knight Returns artist. So that if you see that art, you would probably immediately recognize it.
I thought it looked familiar.
Yeah. Letter by John Costanza, and then colored by Kevin Sommers. So here we go. Sit back, grab yourself a Mai Tai, Mark, because I'm going to do a synopsis, and then we'll talk a little bit about it.
Well, I'm going to watch my football game.
You do that. You go Bills. Commissioner Jim Gordon, a seasoned figure in the chaos of Gotham, rushes to the Federal Reserve where a hostage situation has turned deadly. A life has already been taken, setting the ominous tone for what lies ahead. As he navigates the tense atmosphere, Gordon senses an unease among the criminals, suspecting that their plan is destined to unravel. Prepared for the worst, he rallies his team just as a shocking revelation echoes through the radio. The criminals have tunneled into the subway and going for a daring escape. In a strategic move, Gordon sends his men to intercept the criminals, reserving himself for the cleanup within the bank. However, the situation takes an unexpected turn when Harvey Bullock reports an empty subway. The criminals, undeterred, crash a bank van through the gate, disappearing with millions and leaving behind a trail of tragedy, hostages dead, officers slain, and a city shaken. Amidst the mourning at the funeral, Gordon encounters an old acquaintance, Pat Doherty, offering a sympathetic ear. Meanwhile, marked bills from the heist surface in Gotham's criminal underworld, prompting Gordon to confide in Batman. The Dark Knight takes up the investigation, leaving Gordon to navigate the internal politics of the police force. In the office of Captain H.H. Danzison, a new opportunity arises for Rookie Officer Bell, an undercover assignment that promises career advancement straight off of the line from the academy. As Bell embraces the officer, Gordon stumbles upon a lead during a drug bust, eventually leading him to a meeting with a perp named Checkers. Intriguingly, Checkers claims insider information on the heist, but demands proof of sincerity. With a tip from Checkers, Gordon delves into the investigation only to encounter a roadblock. The police tape of the heist has been mysteriously erased from existence. Frustrated but undeterred, Gordon seeks a deal for Checkers with the district attorney. However, Batman, ever vigilant, meets with Gordon, prompting the commissioner to express his desire for the vigilante to stay out of the unfolding mess. He says, Batman, I don't need your help, bro. Don't need it.
I think my favorite part of this book, where Batman's like, I can help. He's like, I don't want your help.
Right. Let me handle this myself.
Yeah, there's a whole thing where Gordon, there's value in not depending on Batman for this, which I think was an interesting take because these are Batman books, because these are Batman stories, there's always a necessity for Batman to be there.
Right.
It's because it's his book. And now they're sort of flipping it. We're in this mirror universe where the whole story of the Batman lore is Gotham became dependent on Batman because the cops lost control of the city. Mm-hmm. Between the corruption, the mob, and then eventually
superpowered villains.
The cops were just woefully unprepared to deal with Gotham's descent into hell. And so there was Batman to stave off the apocalypse. And I like this idea of playing with the idea of, no. The cops are perfectly capable of maintaining control of this city. You're there to fill in the gap for when things are out of reach. Mm-hmm. When we are in a situation where the law is not going to cut it anymore, that's where you step in. This and Jim tells him, this is well within our reach. You are not needed here. And the more, and I like the idea. Actually, I was talking about this with somebody. I'm in individual counseling now, and I said the patient should not be dependent on their therapists. You go to therapy just enough to get the tools you need to be successful and not do this anymore.
Right.
Take the stuff you get from therapy, and that's it. And you're done. And you apply them to your life, and you move on. You do better. That's kind of the approach that he's using with Batman, which is, I don't want this city to become utterly dependent on you. These are good cops, and these are cops that want to protect this city. They have as much right to do so as you do. More so because you're actually acting outside of the law. So with that being said, I like the fact that Gordon told Batman, we got this. This isn't where we need you. Go do something where there's something we can do for ourselves. This we got. Yeah. There was something else very specific about, I don't want you involved in this because if you're involved, it some like queers the case in some way. I can't remember what the exact reasoning was, but there was something very specific about why he told Batman to sit down.
Yeah.
But for me, that's the best part of the story.
Gordon's Law and the other one, Gordon of Gotham, both center around how Gordon becomes who he is or stands on his own. That's probably the best way to put it.
Which is interesting because I think the way he's written in a lot of Batman stories, he's just like bold. In some cases, he's beset on all sides by corrupted cops. He's a one lone cop, and it's why him and Batman bonded.
Right. It's one good cop. Yeah.
Right. So it's either that or he's fumbling the ball. No matter how hard they try, no matter how good they are, they can't get this done. And that is not the Jim Gordon in the story, nor is that the story.
Right.
This is very much a competent police force with good cops trying to do the good work of protecting the city in this particular case. It was funny to kind of see Batman sort of shoved to the side.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He doesn't do much. I mean, he's out of this one. The city's shadows deepen as the layers of corruption and betrayal weave a complex web around Commissioner Gordon and the ever-watchful Batman. Commissioner Jim Gordon, a man torn between loyalty and justice, reveals a shocking truth to Detective Harvey Bullock. The cops themselves were the masterminds behind the Federal Reserve heist, laundering money through the notorious criminal family, the Manklins. Bullock, outraged by the implication in the investigation into his fellow officers, storms out in disbelief, leaving a rift in their partnership. Simultaneously, Junior Manklin engages in a clandestine meeting with a criminal named Thorpe, exchanging ill-gotten gains from the heist. Feeling the weight of the investigation closing in, Gordon seeks support from an old friend outside of his agency, Deputy Steve Shotgun Smith. He's quarterback for the Bills, if I remember right.
That would be Josh Allen, sir.
Who agrees to watch his back. As the stakes escalate, Gordon discloses the involvement of the federal assistants, introducing FBI agent Harlan Thorpe. Remember that name. The same individual linked to the criminal dealings with the Manklins. Outside a club, Junior Manklin's world is disrupted as his car is targeted by thieves. And in a twist of fate, a man named Red Corona. Red Corona intervenes.
A man with a name. A name
with a man. Red Corona intervenes, saving Junior and requesting a meeting. Junior, sensing the ominous turn of events, reluctantly agrees to the rendezvous. Meanwhile, Checkers, the informant with critical information, guides Gordon to a mobbed-up precinct in Tri-Corner. However, tragedy strikes as Checkers meets his end at the hands of fellow prisoners, leaving Gordon with a void in his pursuit of justice. Batman, ever vigilant, approaches Gordon once more, extending a helping hand. However, Gordon, wary of the vigilante's involvement, insists that Batman stays out of the escalating chaos. The intricate web of corruption unravels further as Agent Thorpe meets with Junior, revealing his betrayal of Checkers to protect the Manklins. That's right. Agent Thorpe is a bad guy. In a tense confrontation, Junior punches Thorpe, manipulating the situation to divert attention away from his criminal family. As the city descends into a maelstrom of deceit and vendettas, Commissioner Gordon faces not only the challenge of exposing the truth, but also the daunting task of deciding who can be trusted in the dark alleys of Gotham. Commissioner Gordon finds himself ensnared in the web of the heist repercussions, the weight of which seeps into his home life. His wife, Sarah, questions the wisdom of a commissioner actively involved in cases, suggesting that the mantle of leadership should shield him from such investigations. Undeterred, Gordon confers with Shotgun and Thorpe, discovering that the FBI discredits the notion that cops could be robbers? Nah, that can't possibly be. Driven by a relentless pursuit of truth, Gordon decides
I find it the height of irony that this book hinges on there's no possible way Gotham City police officers could ever be corrupt. That's like their only thing.
Yeah. To confront the heart of corruption, heading to the precinct in Tri-Corner, unbeknownst to him, Thorpe tips off Junior Manklin about the impending exposure. Junior, orchestrating a sinister plan, enlists the mysterious Red Corona for a dangerous job. As Gordon walks into the local bar in Tri-Corner, the atmosphere
I went to the grocery store earlier and I bought myself some Red Corona to drink while I do podcasts.
Oh, yeah. The atmosphere tightens. Tim Doherty, Pat's son, acknowledges Gordon's presence, hinting at the heightened scrutiny directed his way. Meanwhile, Thorpe lures Shotgun into an alley, incapacitating him with a taser, intending to extract information about the investigation. Shotgun wakes to a nightmare, tied to a chair and facing the ominous prospect of torture at the hands of Tim Doherty. Simultaneously, Junior takes Corona for a dark ride, culminating in a violent betrayal as he coldly shoots his accomplice. So I want to stop here real quick and talk about this. This Red Corona guy shows up out of nowhere. Junior's this guy who has been involved possibly in with this heist. He's kind of I want to say befriended, but he's made acquaintances with Red Corona, and then he feels like things are kind of getting out of hand because there's too many new faces, if I remember the words correctly. Yeah. And so he takes Red Corona out on a drive and then shoots him, obviously thinking that this guy is a cop. So in a twisted turn of events, Gordon's pursuit of justice takes a harrowing detour. Rear-ended by a Manklin Brothers semi-truck, Gordon finds himself in a desperate escape, running for his life as he is relentlessly chased and shot at. The tables turn, and the assailant accidentally immolates himself in a fiery spectacle. Yes, the guy accidentally caught himself on fire. Gordon jumps into the sewers, heading back to Officer Bell, who had essentially graduated the police force and sent on an undercover operation. They've been absent for a while. So there's some concern as to, oh my goodness, what happened to Officer Bell? You're starting to draw parallels between Officer Bell and Red Corona here. Meanwhile, Shotgun, who's been tied to a chair and is about ready to get tortured, seizes an opportunity, launching himself and Tim Doherty out of a building. And luckily, Tim Doherty breaks Shotgun's fall. Shotgun still is very much alive, wounded pretty badly, but Tim Doherty is dead. So you got to think about this. Tim Doherty is like, I don't know, he's definitely a mainstay of the Tri-Corner Police Department. Mm-hmm. And now everybody is pissed. They're very corrupt. I think they said that they were mobbed up. They were a mobbed up police force. Still part of, I assume, Gotham, but very much heavily mob influenced. Well, now they're all after Shotgun. Shotgun gets away. Returning to his office, Gordon is met with a grim tableau. The lifeless body of Red Corona sprawled out on his desk. The relentless onslaught of betrayal and chaos pushes Gordon to the brink, prompting him to reevaluate his commitment to the rules that have bound him. I remember him looking at a gun, thinking about grabbing it. Now in Tri-Corner, Gordon finds the police mobilized. So Gordon gets himself together, heads down to Tri-Corner. Shotgun, by the way, has just escaped, and all the police they're ready. But this twisted narrative unfolds. Tim Doherty is dead, and Thorpe has spun a tale. Remember, Thorpe was there. Spun a tale of a botched bust. Captain Zanzazin issues an all-points bulletin for Officer Bell, further complicating the already turbulent situation. As Shotgun seeks refuge at his partner Sissy's house, desperately in need of help, the news of Tim's death reaches Pat Doherty. That's Pat. Pat is Tim's dad. Mm-hmm. And in a cruel twist of fate, Junior Manklin and Thorpe arrive at Pat's house, demanding the remaining money from the heist. Gordon, who is already there, pieces together the puzzle that Pat was the mastermind behind these heists. And then he heads in to confront all parties, and a big chaotic exchange of gunfire ensues. So Gordon's kind of outmatched here. It's not like he showed up with a police force, but he's shown up there anyway to arrest everybody that's on site. Mm-hmm. In the crossfire, Gordon is wounded, and as Junior revels in victory, Junior finally, he's like, I'm going to take this guy out. Thorpe seizes the opportunity, betraying and fatally shooting Junior right in the back of the head. So Thorpe, who's still alive, now aims to take out Jim Gordon. And he is unexpectedly thwarted by Gordon's savior. And that person, throughout this whole book, it did not make much of my synopsis here, was Junior's inept blonde girlfriend, who turns out to be Officer Pamela Bell, revealing herself as the undercover operative.
Yep.
Amidst the chaos, Harvey Bullock, recognizing his failure to stand by Gordon in his hour of need, offers a heartfelt apology. In the aftermath, Gordon, battered but alive, confides in Batman, expressing a shaken faith in the justice system. The city, still teetering on the precipice, bears witness to the toll exacted by the relentless pursuit of truth and justice in the heart of darkness. So I sent you a message immediately after I read this, and I was like, this is the first time in a very long time that I was surprised by a comic book. Did you know? I mean, had you any clue that Officer Bell was going to be this girlfriend at all?
No, I had no clue, and it was a really fun surprise.
Yeah. It took me. I was sitting there. I was like, "Who has showed up to shoot this guy, this Thorpe person?" And I was like, "Oh, it's the girl." So at no time was Red Corona Hey, Red Corona was your red herring, if you will. I thought we had a great tale here. We got to see Gordon stand on his own. He took on police corruption in his own way and was able to.
I think the other thing about this is Harvey Bullock is always described as sort of a cop on the take or just not trustworthy. He's one of the lost souls of the Gotham City PD. And here, and I think in all of these stories, both of the stories, especially the next one, GCPD, he's more like a fat Vic Mackey, where he's just had it with the rules, had it with the system. He wants to bring down the bad guys, but he's not really interested in procedure anymore.
Yeah, but he's very loyal to his brothers in blue. He's very Gordon approaches him and says, "Hey, I think this is what's going on." And then Harvey's like, "You are not going to accuse my brothers of doing this."
Yeah, it is definitely one of the things I don't like about cops, because they don't have that mentality of everyone should obey the law, and those who break the law will go to the house of pain. Okay, except for police officers. Because they do the good work of maintaining law and order in our community, they should be absolved from following the law. And it's like, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I kid you for being a pirate. Yar.
Yar.
I kid you for riding the high seas.
Yar.
Yar. But can I tell you how many cops who are very quick to want to hold people to the law, and when they break the law, very quick to want to punish them, unrelentingly so. These are the same people with broken Amazon Fire Sticks. Gleefully stealing movies and television shows.
Oh well,
and then wanting to sit there and tell and justify it to me. That's you don't believe in the law any more than anyone else does. It's for everyone else, not for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm picking on the littlest infraction, but I've seen it worse. They definitely people in positions of power. Some of the less thoughtful ones, not all of them, definitely have this "the law doesn't apply to me" mentality, and that is the worst, in my opinion. And Harvey Bullock is characterized as one of those people. Don't restrain me with procedure and law. And then there's Gordon, who's always a good foil to Harvey, of the only thing separating us from the animals that we're throwing in jail is the fact that we follow the law. Right. We are professional law enforcement figures. This is where Gordon's coming from. We're professional law enforcement figures. We're not soldiers. We're not goose-stepping Nazis. We are professional law enforcers. And if we can't obey the law, why should anyone else? Mm-hmm. I think that is the source of a lot of Gordon's frustrations over the years, and why he kind of tolerates Batman's existence. He's trying so hard to do things by the book. In one of these, he actually says by the book. And when the book fails them over and over and over again, he kind of can be convinced of the need for someone outside of the law. But it can't be the person. Batman didn't swear an oath.
Right.
Batman is a rich guy who put on a costume and hid in alleys to punch muggers. And Gordon knows that. And Gordon sees the value in it. But then that kind of goes back to why he told Batman to stand down, was you're not a cop. You're a vigilante outside of the law. And while I see the value and will tolerate your existence, let's not get it twisted. You're not a cop.
Right.
There's another bit that I really liked here. I think it's in the first story where Batman, he wants to examine one of the $1,000 bills. And he's like, no, I'm not giving you evidence.
Yeah. Right.
And it reminded me of the Dark Knight, where Christian Bale's like, give me 5 minutes with the crime scene before your men corrupt it. And the cops are all ready to shoot him.
Yeah. Yeah. This was a good crime noir, corrupt cop, corrupt police story here, and a way to showcase how Jim Gordon tries, and the man has to be tested so many times throughout just one day. And we're watching this heist. These people get away with this heist, and he just wants, number one, he wants to put the case to bed, but number two, he wants that corruption out of the department.
Yeah. It's hard to do your job when you can't depend on the people on your team.
Right.
I made a joke about this with my people here. It's like, it's very hard to have like something as silly as a podcast, but it gets hard to do this when I can't depend on people. Showing up for the podcast on time and prepared. Being able to talk when I throw it to you. As much criticism as I might get for being a little over talkative and verbose, maybe sometimes the reason why I'm that way is because I can't depend on the people I'm talking to say anything worth Be more interesting and I'll talk less.
Yeah.
So I think I described it as being a quarterback who I'm throwing the passes. If you're not catching them, if my receivers aren't catching them, what am I supposed to do?
But yeah, all in all, good story. Great twist at the end. I mean, the twist at the end was what got this for me. And I think Chuck Dixon, you're very well known for writing some Batman and Batman characters as well. So he did a fine job here. But I don't have anything else really to add to this. We covered kind of everything. What you're good?
I'm good.
All right. You want to go ahead and plug some stuff?
Yeah, check me out. I'm at Mark Radulich on TikTok. Come see my kids sing "Detachable Penis" by King Missile at family friendly karaoke.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, just keep tuned right here on the Source Material Comics podcast feed. You can find us there on the W2M network. And yeah, we've got all sorts of great stuff in the can. We have Mark and I talking about all sorts of books here on Source Material. So go back into the archive. Should be able to find that. We're on Spotify. We're everywhere. So yeah, check that out. So with that being said, that's Mark. I'm Jesse. Have a good one. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us. All of this would not be possible without W2Mnet.com, so make sure to seek them out for more podcasts. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please feel free to share, and we look forward to entertaining you again soon.